Welcome, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. Welcome! Welcome to another episode of Wow Biz, brought to you by Curzon Graphics. Please put your hands together for the founder and host, Lynn Heideracker.
Thank you. Thanks very much for being here, everybody. Thanks for having me. And by the way, Heather Jones is not somebody that you just see everywhere. We're so lucky to have her. She's been recognized as one of the top comedians in the Omaha market for a couple, 2-3 years. We're thrilled to have her here. So just how about a little more applause for Heather Jones, everybody. Very lucky to have her. Thank you so much for being here. No, we'll just keep going. We could do that if we had to, but we've got quite a show, right? There's lots of content here, lots of learning experience, a lot of relationship building potential, and lots of interesting things that we're going to lay on you that I think will unleash your creativity as well as seeing it displayed right here on this particular show. So thank you for joining us right here on Wow Biz Super Quiz. It's a major deal for us. We've already attracted national attention. People are inquiring, what are you guys doing over there? So we can't wait to have you with us again. We're going to introduce our contestants today. Why don't you step over there and we'll say hi to everybody here in front of the camera. Let's talk to our young entrepreneur right here. Who are you?
My name is Luke Armstrong.
Yes, Luke, and you are a serial entrepreneur in the Omaha, Nebraska area.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about the businesses and speak up a little bit with the businesses you're associated with, okay? Sure.
I run a company called RenMind, which is for marketing and communication for franchisors and communities.
Okay, so let me stop right there. RenMind, and it's kind of a CRM type thing?
Yep, RenMind.
RenMind, thank you so much for elaborating. So we can probably find that on the web at what, like?
RenMind.com.
RenMind.com, thank you so much. That's an unusual name, so I had to make sure I got that straight. Now I know that's just the beginning. Tell me more about the rest of your career.
Sure. I also run a space called Cali Commons with my partner, Molly. It's for creative people to sort of market their skills, to cooperate and to collaborate on projects, and to find resources.
And I want to reiterate that Cali Commons, it's kind of in the Midtown area of Omaha. It's a beautiful building, very old building, and they have art everywhere. Yep. So it's rather inspirational. I can congratulate you on displaying art there. And people need, the more, the better. You look behind you right now, you can see I'm a big fan of art. What about the technology stuff other than the CRM? Is there anything else that you can share with us that you do?
Sure. I also run a company with a couple other people called Texty Press, which does text-initiated smartphone tours and pitches and other sorts of kind of simple business interface stuff.
Is that right? Yeah. So 3 different enterprises, Luke. I swear to God, this man is ingenious, he's clever, and he's so low-key you would never believe he's doing such profound work. So thank you so much for being with us. You bet. Luke Armstrong. Okay, we want to talk to Susan Koenig over here. Tell us about yourself, Susan.
Well, I'm of counsel and executive coach at Koenig Law Firm in Little Bohemia here in Omaha.
Yeah, very cool little place, by the way, for that office.
We love it. We've been there for 18 years.
Yeah.
And a building that was built in 1898, so we love it.
Wow.
And then I have my encore career as an executive life coach, working with executives, professionals, business leaders, and their professional development.
Now, I have to ask this question. We don't go too far down this road, but what caused the the transition from being an attorney, only an attorney, to being a life coach? That's quite a transition.
Well, coaching found me. It was a skill set I decided I wanted to get trained on, and when I was in the coaching academy, I began coaching people as a part of my training. Loved it so much. I knew that's all I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
So I began making that transition, and now I'm coach for everyone at the law firm. And I see I'm doing what I've always done, which is to help people move on with their lives, move forward with their lives, support them, help them live lives of integrity.
Well, congratulations, Susan Koenig over here, everybody. Thank you so much. And we have a fantastic and reliable partner at the end of the table over here. Please introduce yourself to this group. I know you, thank goodness. So tell everybody else who you are.
I'm Bruce Arendt. I'm an author illustrator, primarily in the children's book market. I mostly illustrate for other authors, but got a couple of books that were actually miraculously picked up by publishers, one 5 years ago and then one last year as a sequel. So
Bruce is one of those rare people that actually got it done, and with a very high quality children's book. Now he's got a sequel, he's got his agent, of course, in New York City, and he's giving lectures and reading his wonderful rhythmic, poetic books at school systems around the Midwest, right?
that is actually an unexpected thing that happened in my career doing this. I didn't realize I would end up primarily, the biggest part of my business is doing school visits to elementary schools. And I'm the guy that they bring into the gymnasium all day long, and there's nothing cuter than a whole big room full of first graders. I mean, that's great. But it's been a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Congratulations on your career so far, Bruce. I know you got a long ways to go. Mr. Bruce Aaron, everybody over here. All right. Finally, we got a fantastic judge over here. Heather is standing next to him, and many people want to stand next to him because he seems to generate a lot of action. There's a lot of income out there. He sees opportunity. Not everybody does that. Brett Freevert runs CFO Systems, and he is our judge tonight. And say a little hi to the audience out there, Brett, and then we'll get going.
Welcome.
We're pleased to have you, Brett, and you're running a very successful operation, so we're thrilled to have you be here.
Thanks, Lynn. Glad to be here.
My pleasure to have you. Okay, let's go ahead and begin with our deal right here. Now, you see these hotel bell ringers. They're one of my favorite little instruments. Everybody's dying to hit one, so go ahead and hit it a couple times. There you go. I love that sound. All right. So we're going to ask a couple questions right now, and this will be a matter of speed, obviously, and we'll do that initially, and then we'll kind of evolve into some more thoughtful, open-ended questions. And I know our viewers are dying to hear this because they have a great deal to learn from all three of you. You're both very, everybody's very bright. Now, here we go. If you make 100 phone calls, cold calls, we've all done this before in our career. These days, that's a challenge. It always has been. But if you make 100 cold calls on the phone, tell me how many of those 100 phone calls with people, how many of those calls you're going to have a meaningful, quote unquote, not sell, but a meaningful conversation with somebody on the other end of the phone that you're going to feel good about. How many? 1 out of 100. What's the number going to be? Go ahead. Bruce?
I would say just 2.
2 would be Bruce's thing. All right, who's next? Who's going to challenge him on that? We'll find out. What would you go, Susan?
I wouldn't go beyond 3, so.
You wouldn't go beyond 3?
I think Bruce is really close.
So you'd say 3. Is that your number?
I say 3.
Luke, what's your number, Ben?
I'd say 5.
You'd say 5. Brett?
I would say 2. If it's pure cold call.
6. 6 meaningful conversations. And now you've all put it in such a positive context. By the way, if anybody sat around and made 100 phone calls and you only have 6 meaningful conversations, it's not a great day. It doesn't feel like a fantastic day. So the way we've had this thing going, but I think Luke probably wins that, right? He's closest to the number. Yeah, Mr. Luke Armstrong. Yeah. Okay, let's do another one. Now, productivity and engagement with employees, that's a tough subject. A lot of people will kind of wince about that because they don't feel there's any good way to really engage employees. One of the statistics about that is that if you talk to employees and say, to what extent has your boss congratulated you or popped by and said, hey, how you doing? We appreciate your work and so on. What percentage of the people said that somebody has actually done that in the last week? All right. Hey, Susan Koenig thinks she's on. Now, I know you're into organizational development, so you probably think along these lines. What percentage would you say?
It's disappointingly low. I'm going to give it a 25%.
Okay, 25%. That's very interesting. All right. Anybody want to take a shot after that?
I would go even lower. I would say just within.
This is a sad comment that we're having.
This is sad. Yeah, I would say only 4.
Only 4%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting number.
Yeah.
Luke, now you don't work in a large corporate environment, so you probably aren't really as familiar with this kind of thing maybe as these other folks are.
I'm going to say 15.
15?
Split the difference.
The number's 33. So that means you're on top of it and you are still the organizational development champion. All right, very good. So Susan's got it. Awesome. All right, you guys feel like you're pretty well warmed up now. You're kind of into the game. The audience is into the game. Now we're on the same page, right? Everybody out there in the audience? All right, so here we go. This is a completely different deal, all right? So this is going to have to kind of listen carefully to the story, all right? A top insurance agency for a large insurance company, was trying to close a deal with a young man who was considering signing with a smaller company. So it's an insurance agent, probably representing big company like New York Life or Metropolitan, somebody like that, And he's trying to pitch him, and the younger man kind of wants to work with a smaller firm. And the salesperson used this metaphor, and that's what this discussion is all about, is the ability to find a metaphor, right? And here's what he said to his prospects. Quote, it's like taking your family on a long voyage across the Atlantic Ocean, and you want to get from here to England. You have the choice of either going on a tugboat or on the Queen Mary. which one would you feel safe on? You see what I'm getting at there? So there's a very clever use of metaphor, and he closed the deal. And they said, well, I think I'd be more comfortable on the Queen Mary than I would on a tugboat getting over to England. That's really a good lesson for all of us to learn, the ability to do that. So I'm going to give you each 1 minute right now. We're going to talk to the audience in a second. I'm going to give you 1 minute to gather your thoughts, and I would like you to come up with a similar kind of a little metaphor that would be persuasive in terms of convincing somebody to work with you, or you, or you. Now, you're all smaller firms, proprietors or whatever, so let's pretend that you're pitching somebody that's inclined to go with a larger company, and your job is to find a metaphor, brief little thing, that would convince somebody to go with you instead of with them. That's kind of an interesting thing, huh? Heather, why don't you and I come up here for just a second? Let's talk to the audience a little bit. Metaphors are an incredible thing. They come out of the right hemisphere of the brain. I don't know if you know that.
I would imagine so, yes.
Yeah. And
very
humor,
creative.
by the way, is over here, right?
A lot of hillbilly metaphors I grew up with from West Virginia.
Did you really?
Absolutely,
Is that
yeah.
right? And can you just off the top of your head come up with?
I don't know if any are TV friendly.
Oh,
Well,
anyway,
cow pie.
the beauty of that, and every person that's been in sales knows this, but when you're actually standing in front of somebody, it's hard to come up with just the right metaphor.
Right.
It takes practice. But
right, and you're trying to connect with them.
You're trying to connect with them, and you want to connect with them with their heart, because when somebody's listening to you, like our judge over here, Brett Freeman, very savvy guy, discerning guy, if I were trying to persuade him, he'd be using the left hemisphere of his brain. He'd be going, oh, that may not be true. I'm not sure. He's exaggerating. I see a hole in that argument. That's how the left hemisphere of the brain works. Yeah. That's how all those financial guys work.
Especially when you're listening to Lynn.
Okay, but anyway, I won't touch that. But when you use a metaphor on the right hemisphere of the brain, it gets around all that logical analysis.
Right, it catches them.
It catches them
right.
differently.
It's like a Hallmark commercial, but you don't make them cry, hopefully.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And they feel it.
Did I nail it? Did
they
I do it?
feel it,
Okay.
So let's move over here again, and we'll come back to our contestants, and we'll see if they can cut through the left brain filter that so many of us...
I'm excited. I couldn't. I came up with a gambling metaphor.
Oh, well.
That's the best thing I could do. So I'm excited to see what they
We'll ask you to see what that... All right, let's start over here with Mr. Aaron. Now, you're pitching. You'd like to have this client. They're saying, I'm thinking about going with a bigger company. No offense, Bruce, but what metaphor would you use to kind of say, the wisdom of working with Bruce Aaron? I guess I'm going to go with you.
Lynn, I'd say, if you could equate your company to a classic hot rod car, and you needed to have it tuned up, would you take it down to the chain store mechanic shop, so a national franchise mechanic shop, have a bunch of kids working on it, or would you take it to a seasoned professional mechanic who has decades of experience, who knows how to take care of your baby?
How do you like that? I love that. I think it's a very, very good. What do you think? That was pretty good, wasn't it? That's a good metaphor, very usable. Susan, let's hear how you would make the pitch utilizing a metaphor.
Well, we're talking about law firms now.
Okay.
So if you're walking along in life and all of a sudden you've fallen off of a cliff, you would love to be captured by a net and lifted up, put back on solid ground, and be able to walk forward on your path with your pack all packed, all healed up, and everything you needed to go forward. Now, you want someone who knows how to catch someone falling down into the Grand Canyon.
Into the abyss.
Into the abyss. Not someone who says, hey, you know what, we can do rivers, and we can do forests, if you get lost in the forest, and we can, whatever it is that is your specialty, we're it. And you want people who are the best at what they do, and we're the best at what we do.
And that's a very emotional element, the notion of falling into the abyss.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Many people couldn't pull that off, by the way,
You want people
Susan.
with the expertise?
I think you actually pulled that off pretty good. What do you think about that, guys? That was not bad. Not bad. Not bad. I think both of them pretty competitive. What do you think, Lou? Let's hear your metaphoric pitch, man.
All right, so I'm gonna try this. So a lot of people say you shouldn't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say that if you're interested in my firm, you're probably interested in doing something that's already been done, but in a different and more accurate way. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for a custom solution, You want to come have us develop this custom version of the wheel so that it fits you exactly. You don't want to go to the big companies because they're going to give you the wheels that already exist.
So you want somebody who's going to help the client reinvent the wheel, or are you the ones reinventing the wheel?
We help with the client. We reinvent the wheel for them to fit them exactly.
You know what I think you're pitching here is individuality and uniqueness, and you're saying if you're a unique person, you want a unique vendor. Is that kind of where you're going with this?
Yeah,
I think so. Because the uniqueness leads to customization, and that's kind of what I hear you saying.
Right. Well, you know, the 90% solution solves 90% of your problem. The 100% solution solves your problem exactly. There are lots of flavors of wheels, and when you say don't reinvent the wheel, you're throwing away all the different iterations of all the wheels that ever existed.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I get that, and I appreciate the fact that you explain a little bit more about what a wheel is and whether. So the pitch here is go ahead and utilize the wheel, but customize it and make it different? Is that what
kind of the principle of the wheel, that it's circle and that it rolls.
Still intact.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the ways that it works, they have lots of inventions inside of it that makes the work more smooth or levels out the bumpiness.
There he goes. All right, how about it? All right, now, Heather, let's go over here and talk to Brett and just say, these were not bad answers, any of the three of them.
They were good. I think we liked all of them, absolutely.
Yeah, well, which of the three, now got to get to the bottom line because we got more and more to go. Which one of the three do you think is the most persuasive that you would feel it now? There's a logic element and there's an emotional element, but which of the ones?
Just the top one?
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah, Luke?
Yeah.
And why do you say that?
I like Luke, and you look at Luke and you say, okay, this guy's creative, this guy's on the edge, and taking something as trite as, well, let's don't reinvent the wheel, and he just turns it completely around. That's what I would expect from a good creative guy. Let's take something trite, turn it completely around, and let's go reinvent the wheel.
All right, sounds good. Congratulations, Luke. Brett, liked your pitch. I thought all three of them were pretty good. I really resonated with all of them. Now we're going to do, huh? Absolutely. And going into the abyss, I can't get rid of that, by the way. All right, so let's do something a little briefer right now. I kind of want your thoughts about something else, and it's kind of down your alley about emotion and the role of emotion in business. Okay, fear of failure and fear of success. Right, two different things. Both of them, however, can stop employees from actualizing the vision that you craft for your company, for your business. Now, this is interesting. Most of us understand fear of failure. We get that. I mean, people don't want to fail publicly, and they embarrass and they shame themselves, much like I'm doing right now, as a matter of fact, right? But fear of success, that's a tougher one to understand. You know, that's a more interesting thing. So I'm going to ask each of you to kind of give us your interpretation of what that really means, because it's an equal barrier to people kind of going to the next level, working hard, trying to realize vision and so on. Bruce, let's start with you. What does that really mean when somebody says they're actually afraid of success?
I think it circles back around to fear of failure, because they don't want to fall off the pedestal. Once they've succeeded, they've got to maintain the success. You've got to maintain that whole thing, and you're ultimately still afraid of failure of falling off that success pedestal.
Yeah. You wonder whether or not you did something great, then if I could do it again.
Right.
So if I succeed a lot, people will expect so much from me, and the pressure is relentless.
Right.
Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. Luke, let's ask you now. You don't parrot him. He isn't necessarily the only guy at the table. I want some unique input on this topic.
Sure. So I think people who are afraid of success are self-sabotaging, and they're likely putting priority on things that are not necessary and lowering the priority of things that are necessary so that they sort of avoid success and finding out whether they're going to actually fail. And I think the thing they have in common is the word fear, and fear always has the same sort of outcome, which is making actions based upon being afraid.
So you're saying that they don't have their priorities straight? Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When I find that I am doing that, it's because, well, I just noticed that I'm prioritizing things that shouldn't be prioritized. I do the dishes instead of doing marketing or something like that.
But tackling something more complex, maybe that's a little bit outside your comfort zone or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Susan, I'm sure you have great insight into this. Let's hear your thought about fear of success.
You know, well, the first is that I'm going to be found out that I'm not really successful. You know, so many people have the imposter syndrome,
Yes,
right?
they do.
Where if people only knew I don't belong here.
So true.
Right?
So
they're going to
true.
find out pretty soon. As soon as I give the next answer, they're going to know I shouldn't be here.
Yep.
So there's that fear.
Yep.
There's the fear of letting go of how things used to be.
Yeah.
Because once you step into who you really are, you have to let go of some of your old ways.
Yeah.
And you know, we tend to want to hold on. And so it's scary. And then if I really make it there, whatever there is,
Right.
then I'm going to have to live up to who I am.
Yeah.
And
Kind
will
of
I
comes
be able
back
to
to
do
what
that?
Bruce was
That's
talking
right.
about as well, a little
It's
bit
true.
there. But the imposter syndrome is really prevalent.
Yeah.
I just talked to somebody, obviously I'm not going to mention his name, but he's well known in this entire state. He's in a retired mode, semi-retired mode. And I called him up the other day and I said, hey, I'd like to have you on my show. You know, let's extract the wisdom that you have to offer, you know, and so many things. And he said, you know, Lynn, I'm afraid, he actually used the word in our dialogue, that I may not be as smart as you think I am. And my response was, well, if you hang out with me, you'll walk away feeling smarter than you really think you are. So there. Okay, so those are some pretty interesting philosophical answers, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. These are some in-depth people here. This is what we call thought leadership, really. Absolutely.
I'm going to go cry in a corner.
No. Hang out here with us. We'll be doing something fun real fast. But Brett, of these three very thoughtful answers, what do you think is the most important?
That's a tough one. You know, I think Bruce and Susan really hit it, that imposter syndrome. So I'd probably split it, I'd give them a tie.
A tie?
The first on this,
Okay, well, we didn't think there were ties in the game, but now there are ties, so there they are. I like it, the fact we just make up rules as we go. You know, there's nothing wrong at all with that. Okay, now, let's talk about Einstein and talk about genius for a second, okay? You know, it's interesting, the National Geographic, I just picked it up today, has a cover story about Einstein once again, right? And here's I've studied genius, the nature of genius for, oh my goodness, 20 years. I find it so fascinating. When I read about geniuses and how they live their life and their day and who they were married to and all the crazy stuff, I start to feel like a genius as long as I identify. But anyway, here's one of the things that Einstein said. I want to share this with you. It has something to do with, all three of you will relate to this. He said, quote, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." Okay? So creativity, which is the indispensable fuel of economic growth, right, is being killed by corporate culture. By the way, former President Jimmy Carter said something very similar in a really incredible interview on TV about a year ago. However, and that's really sad because only 8% of all companies feel that they know how to innovate. Only 8%. They'll admit that they need to innovate, but only 8% think they can pull it off. Okay? So why is it so hard for company leaders to embrace creativity, which of course is the beginning of innovation? If you're creative, then you start to act upon it, and then you have an innovative new product or service, right? But creativity is the beginning of it. Why is it so hard, in your opinion, for corporate leaders to actually say, hey, no, you never see in the job description, you know what job descriptions say? Detail-oriented people. We're looking for detail-oriented people. They never say, we're looking for creative people that come up with great new ideas that blow our industry apart. Real quick now, Luke, why is that? Why are they like that?
I think it has to do with separation of duty. So their job is to stay stable and in business, and most of the time they don't separate out an R&D division that's given the responsibility to innovate.
Okay.
Fear stops a lot of great things in the world, and the fear that they're not going to return those corporate profits like they're being demanded stops them from taking the risks that creativity demands.
Fear is the big deal.
Yeah.
Bruce, what do you think? Why can't they embrace creativity? It's so obvious it needs to be embedded in their culture.
I've seen this throughout my career in corporate life. Creativity has to start, in the corporate culture, has to start at the very top. If the CEO doesn't have a mindset of creativity and innovation and all of that, if they're only a numbers guy, sorry Brett, if they're only a numbers person, that's going to filter down through the whole place. You've got to have somebody who embraces creativity, innovation from the top.
Because the vision comes out of that. And even the process. Tom Peters said this 20 years ago. You can weave innovation and creativity into the process. In the HR department, everybody needs to be creative. Don't you agree? You agree. I know you do. What do you think about these? What do you think about the responses here, huh?
Very, very good. I think that, again, they all have a lot of value, a lot of legitimacy, and we've seen each of those. I'd say Bruce pegged it that there's that performance requirement, the lack of patience for error.
Because in creativity,
you talked about Einstein, you didn't talk about Edison and his 10,000 failures.
Yeah.
Failing 10,000 times is not an option in today's world.
That's right, right. And so because of that, we cut ourselves off from the creativity. Creativity is effective, but it's not efficient. Isn't that right?
Right.
Absolutely. So I think Bruce won this particular round trip. Okay.
it.
All right, awesome. Great job. Well, everybody, we're wrapping up here Wow Biz Super Quiz. I really appreciate you being here. And Heather Jones, she and I are grateful for your involvement. We've got a lot of substance here in this particular, and what about these guys right here? Were they incredible? Huh? Awesome job. Awesome job. We are so grateful for being here. And you know what? Let's just celebrate our existence right now by hitting the dinger one more time. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. This is Wow Biz Super Quiz. We're going to do this every other week. Can't wait to see you at our studio in Midtown Omaha. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you so much. And how about for Brett Freeman over there, everybody? Judgment, discernment, evaluation, big picture. I love it. We'll see you again. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.